Morning, y'all. Welcome to week 10 of Stay Classy and Choose Love. I hope that you've had as restful of a week as I have had. It's been so good for my heart and soul. And it's one of those weeks where I feel like God's talking to me too. Like it's just been a powerful week, and like in the best ways. Everett did a great job at wrapping up summer swim season at Northland Swim Conference. He did awesome last week. It just was a little time consuming and it was great. And then Todd and I got a good time this week. One of the nights it was just the two of him. It was just him and I, the two of us, for dinner. And I decided that I was going to make homemade spaghetti sauce. So a couple weeks ago, I think I told you guys I had the Hype Girls over and I shared my family recipe for homemade meatballs. And I decided that night that I was going to try to make homemade tomato sauce too. And Todd and I went down to the city market and got fresh tomatoes and all this stuff. And here's the thing, I made the sauce and it was so good and not hard at all. And so I made it again last week and pretty quick and easy, right? Just have to have some good tomatoes and blend them up. Anyways, as I was making the tomato sauce for Todd and I, there was this moment where it was like, man, I love this. I love that I'm trying something new. And here's the thing, I have been so intimidated about making homemade tomato sauce. Like in my mind, it was a super daunting task that took all day for tomatoes to simmer. And there might be some really good Italians out there that are like, that's the way it should be done. You're probably right. I'm not going to steal that thunder from you. But what I made was sufficient and like so super good. But for years, I thought it was just something I couldn't do and I couldn't master. And then I decided I was going to give it a try. And as I'm making this tomato sauce and I'm like sampling it here and there to make sure it tastes correctly, because again, the kitchen is like my favorite creative place. I just like saw so many parallels to life, right? Like we can talk ourselves out of some of the easiest things, like, nah, it's too hard, or I won't be good at that, or this isn't going to work. And then we never try. And I gotta tell you, I'm super glad I tried homemade spaghetti sauce. This is gonna be like my new thing. Super yummy. So that was fun. And then we had the meatballs that I make, they freeze so well. So I always make like a giant batch and freeze them so that I can pull them out when needed. And that's what I did with the Hype Girls. So it was nice. So we pulled out some meatballs and it was just a great little meal. We had this great little date dinner at home. Everett has been spending a lot of time with his girlfriend, which is adorable and super fun. And then Everett and I we had a great night Friday night. One of his Christmas presents was I bought us tickets to see Forrest Frank in concert. And if you don't know, Forrest Frank is this very trendy Christian artist, but not like I wouldn't say mainstream Christian artist in some ways, because I listen to like Caleb and our local Christian station. Oh my gosh, where are my words? All the time. And I don't feel like I hear a ton of Forrest Frank, but he's super popular with the Gen Zers. And Everett was stoked. It's his first concert. It's like a good mother-son evening. We had a great time. And it was great. It was such a soul-stirring concert. And he's causing it, like the theme of the concert was the Jesus generation. And, I'm like in the T-Mobile Stadium and I'm watching 17,000 people just worship and talk to God and praise Jesus. And like my heart was just so full. And there was a time in the concert where Forrest talks about his grandmother, and he talks about this season of life where he feels like he's stirred away from who he wanted to be and his Christian roots and some of that. And most of us probably have at some point, right? Like, and then he talks about how his grandma prayed for him every day and how thankful he is for that and how thankful he is that God heard her prayers. And, I will tell you that in these moments because my walk with Jesus is strong and has been for a really, really long time. Like I think I really grew my faith as my own starting in high school. And I'm not one to preach because I have met too many people like that, and I feel like sometimes it can turn you away, right? And I am a strong believer that my job is just to love. Like Jesus asked me to love, and you'll know I'm a Christian by the way I love, right? Like, so there's this piece, like, I get uncomfortable when people talk about how thankful they are that God answered their prayers. Because here's the thing, as like a somebody that's had a strong relationship with God, I am also somebody that feels like God did not answer my prayers, right? Like I prayed that Jeremy would come home, and I prayed for a big family, and I prayed for things that I feel like God did not answer. And I have wrestled with those emotions like continuously. I don't want to say continuously because I'm not angry and bitter, but there are moments where I have to stop and have that conversation with God of why did you answer their prayers the way they wanted, but you answered my prayers in the way you needed. And that's like the biggest thing that in these moments when I'm in these big arenas, I know I'm not the only one sitting in this audience that hasn't had prayers answered, right? Like, and that faith journey, right, of like coming back to God and Jesus when I don't understand the plan, right? Like it gets big and deep, and this is probably like a whole conversation that needs to happen if you're interested. But what I want to say is just it comes back to a couple pieces. So I have tattooed on one foot faith, hope on the other, and love on my wrist, because when Jeremy died, it was really important to me. I might not have understood a lot at that point, but I was wrestling with a lot of emotions, and I knew that myself, what I wanted was to keep walking with faith and hope. It was super important to me. And I wanted to still be somebody to extend my hand with love. And that's why I put love on my wrist. Super important to me that I not end up a bitter person. And in that commitment, I have had some really gut-wrenching conversations with God. And I always think of the crucifixion story. And I think of Jesus on the cross and that moment where even Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me? As he sat there suffering for all of our sins to eliminate that and like took on our pain, right? Like there's this part where I think we get really lost in the idea that if we're good Christians, nothing bad is going to happen to us. And I don't believe that. If we're good Christians, when we get to that eternal place of heaven, we will know goodness like we can't even comprehend down here, right? Like there's a bigger purpose to the stories. And I love my church community, Restore Community Church here in Kansas City, because it's like God heard me. And the sermon yesterday was very much about Paul and Silas and their commitment to trusting God's plan. Like God put on them the Great Commission, right? Go out and share the news of Jesus Christ and what he's done for us. He died for our sins, and not died in like a beautiful way, right? Like he suffered. He suffered far more than I have ever suffered, right? Like he took on pain and heaviness. Like it's powerful. It's powerful when you really look into it, right? But true trust, a true relationship with God, right, is like sometimes when the bad things happen, it's not about thinking, why am I being punished? Why am I not good enough? Why me? Why can I look at this other family that seems to have nothing but good blessings, and I'm this person that I feel like is constantly given heavy things to handle? I don't know. But I'm going to trust that God's going to carry me through it, and God's going to give me the strength and the wisdom, or at least love me while I find the wisdom to get through it all. I don't know. it just was heavy on my heart this morning. And I'm not one to preach a lot, but I just feel like I'm probably not the only one out there that feels like my prayers haven't been answered. But yet I know Jesus loves me and Jesus loves you. And he died for all of us, right? And in order to get to heaven, there's this piece where we need to accept that Jesus did that for us, for me. In all of my unworthiness and sinfulness, he died for me and you and everyone else if we accept it. Anyways, sorry. It just felt heavy because like, it's been a lot. And as I've like talked about the story and of Jeremy and I and like continue to get onto it, there's this part of me that is praying for wisdom about how to talk about some of the messy years. Because they're coming. But, I wrapped up last week talking about the good years for Jeremy and I, where we found a good stableness in our marriage, financial security. We were in a good routine with his deployments. Like I went back and listened to it. I realized I did not really talk about my career as a nurse. Like it was booming. I was loving my job as a nurse. Like it was good. Life was really good then. So I think, Jeremy and I had, I guess we were probably like 23, 24 at this point. And we'd always said that at 25, we would start trying to have kids because, again, we just got married so young and things had been so intense those first few years. We weren't in a hurry. And we were good with that. So we decide at some point that we're going to take advantage of the battalion marriage retreat that's happening in Kiowa Island, which is like this beautiful little golf resort community north of Charleston, near the Charleston area, Kiowa Island. So we go up for this marriage retreat and, I don't remember a lot of the details, but it was good, right? Like it's like communication with your partner, respect for your partner, where are the struggles, like let's kind of talk about it, especially being with all other Ranger families that like we have the same kind of similar challenges to our marriage. What does that look like? And then we got to go on this great date night to this super swanky restaurant that was on the island. And I remember both of us sitting there at dinner, and one of our tasks from the marriage retreat that we were supposed to do is talk about our goals. And we're both super quiet. We're super quiet at this dinner, and it's been a great day. And we're quiet, and we're kind of looking at each other, and we were talking about our goals, and I don't remember which one of us talked about it first, but one of us eventually threw out the idea of like, maybe one of our goals for the next year should be expanding our family, going outside of the plan. And please keep in mind, remember, I'm a plan-based person. So like when I set forth a plan, I pretty much stick to it. And so, I feel like it might've been Jeremy first. And I remember kind of like pausing and being like, yeah, no, it does feel right, doesn't it? Like kind of like this God nudge of like, you should start now. And the piece of this conversation I remember is this huge coastal storm is rolling in behind us. Like I'm just watching these storm clouds and like all the things. And I don't know, it might've been an omen in some ways, but, yeah, we came back from that marriage retreat and, I went off birth control and we decided we were going to start having a family. And at that point, like my mom, I'm one of 4 kids. My older sister was having kids, and I kind of felt like I would go off my birth control and be pregnant within a couple months. That was not the case. I went off my birth control and actually like started to gain weight, and I just remember feeling like really emotionally unstable, things of that sort. But just thinking it was like normal while my body kind of normalized, for lack of better words. So Jeremy and I went about our business. And then that summer, we were going to go on a family trip with my family. So we were going to meet my family all in Dauphin Island, Georgia, and rent a beach house. And we were going to just everybody. Like, so at this point, it's my parents, my oldest sister, Molly, and her husband, and they had Michaela from Dusty's first marriage, and then her daughter, their daughter together, Chloe, and their son Patrick at this point. They ended up having more kids, but they had the three of them with them. They had driven down. Jeremy and I drove. And then Bonnie and Patrick were not married yet, my other sister and my brother. And we all meet in Dauphin Island. And Patrick had just finished his first year of college and was doing an ROTC scholarship also. It's interesting because his story is very, very parallel to Jeremy's in some ways. But the trip was good. Started out really good. Jeremy and I were in charge of buying a lot of the groceries because we were driving, and so I could bring a lot of the like non-perishables that we needed. And like I remember one of the things on the grocery list were granola bars, and so I at Sam's Club bought big boxes of Fiber One bars and showed up to these of my sisters who notoriously like to give me a hard time. We're both like, oh my God, why did you buy Fiber One bars? We're gonna end up shitting our pants. I was like, no, you can never have too much fiber. The nurse and me said this. And I'll come back to why that's important. So it was like it was an interesting week, and we were all of us were in one house, which looking back on it now was probably not the best idea, because my family, we're some strong personalities, right? And so we're staying at this beach house, and I mean it literally like the back door, you walk down and you're on the beach. It was absolutely beautiful, great setting, but like all there was to do was like the beach and drink. There weren't even a lot of restaurants. Like I feel like Dauphin Island had gotten hit pretty hard with some hurricanes a few years before, so it just was still being rebuilt. There wasn't a ton to do. And Jeremy and Patrick, my brother and Jeremy, gosh, they were like two peas in a pod when they would get together. They would like stay up every night just shooting the shit. And one night they like went crab hunting, and I mean, I was going to bed. It just, and I think this was a pre-deployment leave. So we're like in that time period where I'm getting emotionally needy and Jeremy's kind of checking out, right? So my emotions are high, and then, my sister's son, Molly's son, Patrick, was still pretty little, and I remember he would just cry a ton at night and keep a lot of us awake. God bless it. You can't do a lot about that, but when you're in a house all together with small children, sometimes that happens, right? Long story short, the last night that we're all together, my family just exploded. And there's a part of me that reflecting back, I feel like this was the first moment for me where maybe I realized that some of the patterns of my family that I grew up with were not necessarily healthy. And it was big, it was bad. And my family gets loud and, I don't want to say violent because it's not like punches were being thrown, but like things were being thrown. Like it was very loud, and there's a lot of alcohol that's often involved too, that can be definitely a factor in it, right? And my oldest sister Molly primarily, I don't want to say primarily because she carries a heavy burden, but there's like, I feel like it started with her kind of just like laying into everybody in the family about everything that we had been doing wrong all week. And then my dad kind of chimed in and laid into Patrick because he had just kind of gotten into some like trouble and his scholarship was online. It just like cascaded into this like big explosion at everybody. And here I am like kind of hormonal because I'm trying to have a baby and it's not working well and all the things. And it was bad. And I just remember turning to Jeremy at one point, and Jeremy's family does not do this. They're almost like on the extreme opposite end of the spectrum and don't ever talk about anything that bothers them. And I remember turning to Jeremy and just being like, we need to leave. Like, we need to go. And we did. We packed up that night and started the drive home early, a night early. Like, it was so bad. I just remember crying. It was really awful. And like, it was sad. It was really, really sad because I had been so excited to spend time with my family, and that was how it ended. And I remember Jeremy and I were at a rest stop the next day and I go in to go to the bathroom, and I had on like light blue sweatpants, and I pulled down the sweatpants to go to the bathroom, and I looked down, and sure enough, at some point I had definitely shirted my pants. So I get back in the car. Those 501 bars will do it to you. So I get back in the car, and I'm like searching through my suitcase for another pair of shorts or something. Jimmy's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I think I shirted my pants." He's like, "Oh yeah, I noticed that yesterday." I was like, "You didn't tell me?" And I didn't notice with the shit hitting the fan with my family. It was just really intense. It was really intense. And that moment definitely like broke the ice. And it was a big piece for Jeremy and I where we really talked about like driving home from that trip. We talked a ton about what we wanted our family to look like. Like we talked about things that we had grown up with and things that were done. And, you know, there was a piece of me that really wanted to raise our children in a home that wasn't so loud and destructive. And I think that this story is important because it gets into some of the stuff with the messy years. So anyways, I was Staten Island. We came back. I don't know. My family just kind of buried it under the rug. There were like some emails sent and some justifications for, that's the thing with my family too, is there's never apologies. There's never, I'm sorry I hurt you, or man, that was really out of line on my part. It is this is why I did it, and you can probably expect me to do it again, which is so toxic, such a toxic circle. So we get back, and Jeremy and I kind of go back to our normal, he deploys, I go in for my annual OB checkup, and I'm telling them that we had, you know, I went off my birth control probably like five or 6 months earlier and was not pregnant. And I am so thankful for the OB staff that I had in Savannah. Like, I was seeing the nurse practitioner in the office at this point, and she was like, "You know what, we're just going to get you in for an ultrasound and run some labs and like check everything out." She's like, "With how often your husband is deployed, we're not going to wait the year for you to be trying before we like investigate stuff." I'm so thankful for that. So I schedule an ultrasound. Jeremy's deployed. You know, I keep him in the loop. I go back for the ultrasound. Katie came with me because that's what Ranger wife besties do. She came with me for the ultrasound, and I will never forget. I go in for a pelvic ultrasound, and I look on the screen, and I'm not OB at this point, right? Like I don't have, like I've been through mother, baby, and nursing school, but other than that, I don't have a lot of background. I look up on the ultrasound, and I can see on there, like it is literally like my ovaries have a pearl necklace around them, like straight up. I will never forget seeing it on the ultrasound. So it turns out that I get diagnosed with something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a deep-seated hormonal imbalance that, in a nutshell, during my menstrual cycle, I never peak my hormones enough to actually ovulate the egg. Like I don't ovulate on my own. So they end up just kind of like maturing, but then staying in my ovaries. And that's where the pearl necklace is. They almost become like cysts on your ovaries. And they were on it. Like, and I'm on it. And so it was like, but Jeremy's deployed while I'm learning about all this. And so it's like, this is a big piece of a couple of things. Like this is where my fitness journey definitely began, because I learned that part of polycystic ovarian syndrome is the idea of being insulin resistant. So it's not that I'm diabetic, it's that my body doesn't use the insulin that I produce correctly. Things that I can do for this that are really important is exercise. Exercise is a natural trigger to breaking down and using my insulin correctly. On top of that, like staying away from like carbs and things that require more insulin to break down. So I go through this whole like fitness journey. They start me on metformin, which was the medication that made me nauseous, because while I was learning how to take that, there was like definitely some diet stuff, and I'm just trying to take control of my health. But on top of that, like I'm preparing for Jeremy to come home. So a couple of things. Jeremy and I never got a honeymoon, right? We get married and we moved to Georgia right away. So financially, we're in a good place here. So I said, "Jeremy, what if when you come home, we finally go on a honeymoon?" Because we never got it. So I book. He's like, "I love this idea." And I was really nervous that Jeremy and I had had a really healthy relationship, and what I was nervous about was that intimacy was going to end up becoming more like a chore, right? Like sometimes with infertility struggles, like there's times when intimacy has to happen, which takes out some of the naturalness of it. Was a fear of mine, right? So I talked to Jeremy about this. Well, he's deployed because he was a great supporter. Like I remember he would call me almost every day, which was rare for him. Like he could trust, and he's like, just checking on you, and just super supportive. Like despite being overseas fighting a war, he still showed up for me in like the biggest way during this time period. And I remember like telling him this, like, I'm really scared that our sex life is gonna struggle because of this. And so it was like important to me that we kept some of the spice in our life, right? Like, so he's like, well, what are your ideas? And I was like, I'm going to book us a honeymoon to Mexico. And then I was like, and I think I want you to pick me out some like stuff that you would like me to wear. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, like, like adult nightwear, like maybe some, we're still so young. Maybe some lingerie. And he's like, oh, what? And I was like, yeah, like something that you, like, I know what I think is cute and sexy, but I feel like that's probably different than what you think is cute and sexy. And Jeremy was like, well, what are your sizes? And so he's like, email me your sizes. So I totally emailed him my sizes. And then that's kind of it. I don't bring it back up because I don't know, he's busy fighting a war, asking the man to shop for lingerie. It just kind of like came out of my mouth, right? Well, like 2 weeks later, I come home from work and there is the most giant Victoria's Secret box on the front porch. I mean, it's like giant. I remember like opening up the pieces and being like, oh, okay. He wants me to wear this? Okay. Oh my God. And so just always makes me, I can't walk by Victoria's Secret without thinking about that. It was really funny. And he told me later, because I packed it all, and then he gets home and we go to Mexico, and Everett was not conceived in Mexico. I also was tracking my ovulation cycle while he was gone so that we would have a good idea of when I was ovulated. And then I was going to take a medication called Clomid that helps induce ovulation to make sure that I was ovulating correctly so that we could take advantage of that time. And it almost overlapped with when we were in Mexico, but not quite. So, which we kind of knew, but we had, oh my God, we just had the best time in Mexico. I remember a couple stories, like the first, we were there over New Year's Eve, and this still might be one of the most epic New Year's Eve ever, but we're on the resort and they throw this party, and it is a very, we were in Cozumel, and this resort was very like, not a spring break resort. It's like not, it wasn't very hoppin'. Like it was very calm. It was a very calm resort, which was kind of Jeremy and I at that stage in our lives, right? We had a great room with a little private pool. It was great. We had a great time. But so the hotel threw this like epic New Year's Eve party though, that it was just great. Like tiki torches on the beach, like live band, tequila shots. Like we're doing the limbo. Like we're counting down. Like it just was so good. It was so good. But then it was funny because like the next day, I think we left on the next day, but we had like a late flight. So we went to go sailing, and Jeremy grew up on the lake sailing. So we went to go sailing in this little, I forget what they're called, but like little sailboat, kind of like what he grew up sailing on the lake. And we go and we start to go out, and and he goes to lift the sail, and the mast just breaks. It just like it had been, I don't know, corroded by the salt water, and literally just breaks in half. There is no motor. There is no motor on this boat, y'all. And we're out, like, in my opinion, far from shore. And I remember looking at Jeremy, and this is where like I used to just worry a lot. And Jeremy knew that I was like, I have a fear of like being out in the ocean and being stranded. And he just looked at me, he's like, I got this. And literally takes a rope and jumps into the ocean and swam us back to the dock. I just remember sitting there and being like, do you need me to help you? I can swim. And he's like, no, babe, I got it. He swam us back to shore. Oh, we just had the best time. It was so good for both of us, actually, because so many of our block leaves were consumed with family time, which was good for the soul too. But this trip was really, really good for us. So we get back and yeah, the first cycle of Clomid was not a success. But I will tell you that second cycle. And I remember because it was kind of, the first time in my life where I feel like I really had to trust God and his plan for me, right? Like why was I being punished? Like, why was my body failing me? Why, like all these things. And it just kind of was like, I had to like quiet all those voices and just be like, I'm trusting you, God. I'm trusting you. Like whatever happens is going to happen. Jeremy and I even talked about adopt, like all these other, like what we were going to do to have a family if I wasn't capable. And Jeremy was so loving about it because I felt like such a failure, right? Like when you go through anything medical like that, that's so out of your control, it's like, I don't know, I felt like I was letting down so many people, like letting him down, letting myself down, like all these things. And then the next cycle, my next Clomid cycle was, of course, during a time where Jeremy was heavily training out in the field, which God bless him. Because at that point, like we're supposed to be having intercourse or intimacy at least twice a day, right? Morning and evening, just to take full advantage. And he's not home entirely. So there's this piece of me that's like, well, shit, this is probably, but like, give it a full effort. So I remember he came home from the field and I had pulled out one of his Victoria's Secrets gifts. And I don't know, it was great. And it was fun. And lo and behold, we conceived Everett during that cycle. So it was good, but maybe that's why the Jesus stuff was so heavy on my heart this week, was because that time period of infertility was like my first real challenge in my walk of faith. And here's the piece. I just want to pause for a second and like acknowledge anybody that has ever been through fertility struggle, because I was fortunate with mine in the essence that it wasn't even a year, right, between when we started trying and when I got pregnant. It was a big year. A lot happened that year. But I'm thankful for doctors that were on it, that listened to me, that understood my lifestyle as a ranger wife and were supportive. So I'm actually still in touch with my my OBGYN from Savannah, Dr. Smith. He's the most amazing man. His sons are in the military, and I forever have like a soft spot in my heart for him. And it just, the whole thing was so good. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap up. But those of you that have struggled with fertility, just know, like, man, I get it. And I wish I had like great words of encouragement for you, but I know the struggle. And I think there's this piece of me that's like, just sit in the discomfort and know you're not alone, right? Like, know that. Yeah, I don't know. And it sucks, and I'm sorry. So anyways, just wanted to kind of like share all that. That was good time. I remember finding out I was pregnant. This will be the last story and then I'll wrap it up. But Jeremy was gone. He was at Jump Master School at Fort Benning, Georgia. And I had like kind of woken up with some breast tenderness and woke up and it was like, oh, that's weird. And then I stopped for a second to be like, oh my gosh, I should have started my period like 3 days ago. And which is interesting that I wasn't like chomping at the bit. There just had been this part of me that really didn't think that cycle was going to be successful because Jeremy was not home as much as he should have been. And then he deployed and or didn't deploy, but he was out of town. So your head gets other places. And I told him, I said, Jeremy, my breasts are tender. I think I might be pregnant. And so it wasn't FaceTiming back then. It was a Skype call. We did a Skype call. I went and peed on the stick and came back and showed it to him. And we were so excited. We were just so excited to be parents. And he sent me the most beautiful flowers, and actually found that card. It sits on my bathroom sink. I'll show it to you next week, but it sits on my bathroom sink, and it's from the flowers he sent me when we found out we were pregnant. And it says, I wish I could be there with you right now. I know you're going to make a great mom. Love you more. And those words have brought such encouragement for me over the years of being not just a single mom, but an only parent to my kid. It's been heavy at times, just being it all. But I'm so thankful. Anyways, lots of emotions today. So that's where I'm going to lead off. Jeremy and I finding out that we were pregnant and we were about to be parents. So that was it. I hope you have a great week. It's my last week of unemployment. Wah, wah. I start my job on Monday and I am super excited. Just super excited. I got all the details for orientation. I got my schedule for the next couple months. It just feels really real and exciting. And so I just feel like I'm going to try to soak up a lot of the last little moments of this week and all the things. Just want to continue to say thank you for letting me pour out my heart. This emotional journey that I've been on, it's been a lot, and I kind of feel like I'm coming out of the heaviness of it and a stronger person and just very thankful. Gratitude is my word. I'm so thankful for those of you that have walked the journey with me. I'm thankful for my friends, and I'm more importantly thankful for my story. So thank you for listening. And in the meantime, make sure that you stay classy and choose love.